I'm Supermoon Tarot, and in today's video, we are going to be looking at a message from your shadow self, suggested by L. Riley. I think she said shadow side, shadow self. It's the same thing. This was actually requested by her or he, because I think Riley can be a guy. Oh no, I don't know what gender it is. L. Riley, tell me who you are. But also this was in addition double or sub-requested from my boyfriend. He saw my list of suggestions I write down and he was like, do that one. That one's interesting. So I was like, okay, I'll do that one. This is awesome. This is super helpful because whether we like it or not, we all have a shadow self. Now, our shadow self is the things we try to hide, embarrassing qualities about ourselves. But the thing is, these qualities, I like to think of them, if you want to look at them from a psychologist sort of point of view, whenever we feel things like anger or jealousy, these are, what are they called? Like second feelings, second response feelings. The first feeling is the actual thing that you are connecting with, like your higher self-consciousness, like you get jealous, but your first self would be saying, I'm jealous because I feel like I'm not good enough. And by understanding when we have these negative components within us, we then can actually treat and heal whatever's truly hurting us and feel like a calmer, happier, more in sync person that's less affected by other people, and in turn are able to understand their worth and attract the best possible partners and situations. So do not run and hide when you hear about a shadow self. We all have it. We're all going to work through it successfully, and we should love it and embrace it as much as we enjoy our light side. So anyways, as you can see, we have 4 groups in front of us. I want you to pick from these 4 groups the one that you resonate with most. We have group number 1, 2, 3, 4. I think you can hear my neighbors in the background. We're just going to tune them out. Now that you've picked the group that you resonate with most, I'll wait for my neighbor to shut up. And you can go down to the description where you can skip to your designated group and mark timestamp. But let's get started with group number 1. Group number 1, let's look at that shadow side and see what it has to say by looking at the cards. We have, Intention Oracle card in reverse. Okay. Okay, High Priestess upright. 3 of Wands in reverse. Page of Swords in reverse. High Priestess again, upright. Okay, so give me a second to look at this. Oh, this is cool. I really love this one. This is really interesting because subconsciously, you have fantastic intuition, and subconsciously you know the person you want to be and the goals you're striving for. But right now, your shadow side is saying, the shadow self, am pulling you away from that. You're giving in to me too much, and you are moving away from that goal due to your intentions. But we can get a lot more specific about that, and I can even talk about some specific guidance I see coming through. So Intention Oracle card in reverse talks about being aware of why you're doing something. It kind of basically says that you're not doing it for the right reasons, and that now is the time to regroup and get yourself figured out and understand, like, what do you really want and why do you want it? Because I always want to clarify, it is not inherently negative if you want things that are kind of, how to express this, would be typically described as egotistical. The idea of being the best, the idea of being very rich. None of those really are, depending on the way you're viewing it. Like, money is just an experience. If you want to have the experience of being really wealthy, heck yeah, go for it. There's nothing bad about that. And if you want to be the best because being the best means that you get to have the enjoyment of being the most knowledgeable and you can help other people, and it feels just really good to win. You just like that idea. It's not about putting down other people. It's just for yourself. That's not bad either. But something about what you're doing isn't lining up. But not, and I want to be cute here, not because of ego. It's not something you really want it. It's almost like you want it because you think you should want it, or you want it because other people are doing it, and that seems like the best call to action. You're like, okay, I guess that's how everybody is successful. This is the thing I should be doing. But, in your heart of hearts, because you do have such great intuition, it's wrong. Something's off, and yet you can't help but go towards it. And we can go actually specifically why you keep going towards it, because of your shadow self. So our high priestess over here is the first indicator that this is who you really want to be. This is somebody who's able to kind of stand against the grain. They will make the best decision possible for themselves, for other people, and they are not afraid if no one else gets it, and therefore come across as quite mysterious and powerful. They're very magical and smart. And I will say this, I often find when I connect to people who have the high priestess energy, they tend to be people who initially maybe people just don't get what you're putting out there, and maybe you feel it's more comfortable to isolate yourself. But you always end up being the person that when people kind of discover you or slowly kind of wake up from their own, stuff, they realize, oh, wait, you, I'm pointing to you, were right all along. So really fantastic energy, really strong, very independent. But most of all, this is the biggest thing, it feels totally confident in who they are and the decisions they make, and isn't afraid to be alone if they need to at times in order to stick to their decisions and what they stand for. But the high priestess is kind of looking at the intention and going, like your inner self, going, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are we following other people? That's not who we are. This is not who we are. And now we can get more specific over here. So the high priestess over here, interestingly, represents something else. It can specifically represent another person, or it can represent the idea of this high priestess, like we talked about before, what we're going for. And here you are in the Page of Swords in reverse, looking at it, thinking, I'd like that. That does really intrigue me. And yet you still move away from it. You move towards the intention. It's like your inner self knows what to do, knows where to go, and yet your feet call you elsewhere. And why is that? Well, the Page of Swords in reverse talks about how you kind of already assume you're not going to get something. You already assume you're the worst. It's like a self-defeatist kind of attitude. I often find this pops up when we are in fear. This is interesting. It can pop up when you're in fear of trusting yourself. That totally is a thing. But often I find this, lately when I've been doing tarot, I'll be reading and then my brain just goes blank in the middle of it. I think I'm tired. So give me a second with the Page of Swords. I'm so sorry to mess up the flow. Sorry about that. I full on just stopped the camera because my brain the gears were moving too slowly so I could gather myself for a second. Thank you so much for being patient with me and understanding. What I was going to say though was the other thing the Page of Swords represents is the idea that if you actually received everything that you wanted, you'd have to kind of admit to yourself that you're good enough. Sometimes people have an inherent thinking they're not worthy of it. You know what I mean? Totally opposite energy of the high priestess. The high priestess, I don't know if she even thinks about being worthy. She just kind of knows it and is more focused on the end goal. And that is something to consider. She's not thinking about her worthiness of if it's okay or not that she experiences. Is she good enough? She's thinking, I'm focused on what I need to know and what I want to strive for and what's the truth. Who cares about my worth or not? I do on a deep level know that, but I'm not focused there. And remember, wherever you put your focus is whatever's going to kind of manifest or become the bigger kind of conversation to your inner narrative, so to speak. So if it's hard for you to find that you're worthy enough, you should start working on affirmations and saying you are good enough and put it in present tense and good stuff like that to build up your confidence. But it's about understanding that if you find your, shadow self coming out and being you're not good enough, or what if you did win, or, those kind of thoughts, they're going to come. I'll be honest with you though, I don't think they're going to come at you in that direct kind of way. They come in hidden ways. It's every time you have a good idea, it's why don't you act on that good idea? Why do you think it needs more preparation? Why isn't it good enough now? Do you see what I'm saying? It's subtle ways. You can say, it doesn't matter right now how I feel. What matters is this is the most important thing that I want to connect to and talk about. So something to keep in mind. But it almost feels like this could be someone else you're admiring, or the idea, like I want to reiterate before. But here's where it gets really cool with the Three of Wands in reverse. So think of the Three of Wands in two different ways here. In some situations, the Three of Wands, when it's upright, represents the idea of communicating to people, letting them know, hey, this is an idea, you're sending messages, and letting other people know what you stand for in order to attract them or get your messages back. And it's almost like you're trying to tell that version of yourself. Again, it's being blocked. You're trying to say, hey, please don't do that, but there's like a miscommunication due to their distraction. What I'm saying is, when you are trying to say positive stuff to yourself, you're trying to speak to that version of yourself, you're trying to connect to that version of yourself, this is your shadow self trying to let you know, because you're being pulled between the version you think you need to be and the version you want to be, you're not even hearing that anything's wrong. Does that make sense? But I actually want to specifically talk about what the Three of Wands in reverse means due to this connection going on. In addition to the first meaning of like trying to let yourself know what's truly going on and understanding the disconnect, it also talks about the idea that in order to be this version of yourself you want to be, you need to build up an inner momentum. This can be built up by affirmations, pumping yourself up. It's about understanding what you truly want. Again, what do you truly want? Figuring out what that is, and then telling yourself, I can do this. Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm that person already. I'm good enough. And if I don't feel I'm good enough, I'll get there one day. I'm getting there every day. And you're essentially giving yourself excitement and reason and passion with focus on what you want. And understanding that the things that you want, and this is important to notice with an intention, because this is my biggest hint that your intention is coming from kind of like outside forces, so to speak. This says that the things that you want and the motivation you want to get there is not going to come from other people. It's going to come from within inside yourself, because you're hurting yourself within inside yourself. You know what I mean by putting yourself down. So this is not only going to curb the problem of making you feel bad, but it's going to give you that really boost of confidence and nice flow to get to that version of yourself you want to be. This is somebody I really want you to embody and understand, because being this person will naturally work out this situation. You're feeling off because you're not even going in a direction you want to go. You're not even being the person you want to be. But this is the biggest thing I want you to take from this, out of anything I'm saying. It doesn't really matter what you're specifically striving for. It's just the day-to-day energy and the decisions you're making that feel like the best version. Like you're like, yeah, I'm making this decision. I feel confident with who I'm embodying right now. That is more important than even where you're going. This will work itself out if you focus on more the in-the-moment stuff of like, am I living my truth? Am I truly being who I want to be? So that's something to, consider. Your shadow self, see how your shadow self is actually a lot nicer and more helpful than we give it credit for. Anyways, I'm wishing you the best. High Priestess energy is like some of the raddest energy out there. So I love this for you. Anyways, if you enjoyed the reading, please consider giving the video a like, comment, and subscribe. It helps out the channel like you would not believe. Have a lovely day. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And let's get ready for group number 2. Group number 2. Let's see what your shadow self has to say to you by looking at the cards. Okay, we've got Education Oracle card in reverse. You just got yelled at. You just got called out. Ten of Swords upright, the Tower upright, Five of Pentacles upright. Ooh, and the Hierophant upright. Okay, I love a very straightforward tarot. No ifs, ands, or buts, or metaphors. We know exactly what this is about. This almost is like a double situation going on. Okay, so I can just kind of jump right into this because I know what we're talking about. So I want you to keep a pretty open mind when we go over this. I'm going to do the best I can to curb the terminology, because some of the terminology is kind of aggressive sounding, but it does not mean that you embody that full definition. You embody a certain level a small fragment of the general idea, but you are not, in my opinion, from what I'm connecting to, an egotistical person. So I just want you to keep in mind, because I'm going to say a terminology that might initially make you be like, that's not me, and then I'm going to go into what we're specifically talking about. So just keep that in mind. So first, let's talk with the education oracle card in reverse. Your shadow self specifically talks about when you, again, this is going to be hard for me to say, when somebody comes across or is like a know-it-all. And keep in mind, before I even go into this, you are not an inherent know-it-all. Know-it-alls tend to be quite aggressive, kind of can be a little maybe mean. They kind of like to put other people down. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about somebody who has the fear of looking unknowledgeable on a subject. So they tend to know a lot of little things about a lot of stuff, or maybe lie a little bit of saying they're more aware of a subject than they particularly are. Because again, I just want to be, when we're talking about your shadow self, why do you do that? There is a fear of looking like you don't know what you're doing. And then therefore, maybe people shouldn't take you more seriously. I often find this oracle card specifically pops up when I'm connecting to somebody who was fortunate enough to get to a position because they did know enough or appeared they knew enough, and then they got there and then they're like, oh no, I still so much to learn. Am I going to lose my job if I don't know it? You know what I mean? Or this could be a friendship group or whatever. You get what I'm saying. So again, it's not the term know-it-all, it's the fear of looking like you don't know something. So you are really good at appearing like you do know everything. Now, I do want to be aware of something, that this is a complete compliment, because you have to be very smart as is to appear like you do, that you're this informed on this many subjects. However, we want to talk about what you need to do in order to get there, because your destiny is to be an inherently intelligent person. Remember, there's a really beautiful gift in the act of learning and wanting to know more. And that is why you naturally gravitate towards people of different interests and subjects. Wow, I'm just like, I'm not here anymore. Like, my spirit guides have totally taken over. I'm sorry, I just realized that. What was I saying? I didn't mean to interrupt them. Sorry, this is what it's like when you're like connecting with your spirit guides. You don't realize the natural flow when they're speaking and when you're speaking, and what you're tuning into. So anyways, darn it, what was I saying? Okay, you got what I was saying, where I was going with this. So you want to learn more, and we want to let's okay, I'm so sorry I got tongue twisted. That's been happening a lot lately. It's this whole energy shift. Do you guys feel it too? Let's focus back onto this. So with that intelligent, beautiful personality and where you are destined to go, because you are meant to know more, and it's great that you surround yourself with people with different varied subjects and stuff like that. Basically, your shadow self is like, cut out that, sort of fear or mentality or thinking that you need to appear a certain way. Stop it. It's definitely aggressive. It's very aggressive. The cool thing about the Ten of Swords is it implies aggressively, I keep wanting to point out, that when you do get rid of this mindset, because that is what the swords represent. It's this mindset, this thing you're holding onto, which is, what if I look like I don't know? What happens after that? You know what I mean? When you get rid of that, you're essentially opening the floodgates for a much better lifestyle. But we're given actually a reason as to why you're like, well, I know that sounds nice, but I just can't. Or maybe you do set the intention that you would like to be more honest and be like, no, I don't know more about that subject. Can you tell me? When you're running into that situation, and remember, and I just want to point this out, education doesn't have to specifically talk about school. We're just talking about like when you're with other people, you know what I mean? When you generally talk and share things about yourself. I just want to be clear about that. But the main reason why you can't help it, even if you tried and your gut reaction is to go back to this sort of mentality, is due to your deep fear of this dramatic change. What happens next if everything doesn't stay the way it is now? What I know now is my crux. It is the thing I can depend on. Your fear is thinking the worst, just like how people assume the tower card is the worst. So a lot of people think that the tower card ultimately assumes that some big, dramatic, terrible change and shift happens. Not always. Sometimes that change could be like moving to a better place, or suddenly you now own a cute pet or something like that. It doesn't always, it just means that whatever this shift is will dramatically change your day-to-day life. And so think of this tower card and this specific one. So pretend this wonderful witch has convinced you to, has been like, we're going to take down this tower or whatever. And you're like, no, I don't know. Like, I go to that tower every day. I don't want to get rid of that tower. That's where I go there and I think or whatever. And then by this witch teaching you that when this tower gets taken down, you realize that that tower represented your kind of safety net. But she teaches you your safety net is that you can always change and create your environment. It's not a place, it's a place within inside you. Do you see what I'm saying? Wow, I can feel Spirit really, yay, thank you, Spirit guides, for helping me. Really coming through hard with this one. Thank you so much. So again, this is just kind of like redundant, talking about the fear of feeling like you're lacking. I don't know if I said that before, but this pops up when you're concerned people will think that you don't have enough. But remember, if you're thinking that, you're essentially closing out the opportunity to learn more, because your mindset is, I don't have enough. My fear is looking like I don't have enough. And well, why would you even have fear of that if you don't think that you don't have enough? Does that make sense? And it's about flipping the script and being like, I'm going to have so much. I'm going to understand so much. I'm learning every day. I am a well of knowledge. I am always becoming more creative, more skilled. I'm opening constant doors of opportunity due to being so open-minded that there's always more I can know. It's not what you don't know, it's what you're going to learn. Do you see what I'm saying? So super cool. Love that. Love that this popped up. But this ultimately leads to the Hierophant. I do want to point out that with the Hierophant being here, definitely do not be afraid to go find a mentor in particular subjects. Here's something to kind of keep in mind. You could, let's say you find some subject you think is interesting. I know it feels really vulnerable to go up to somebody and like put yourself out there and learn something. And remember, this can be a friend. Maybe your friend knows how to, roller skate and they're so cool looking, and maybe you lied a little bit and said you used to skate in the day. Maybe just be honest with them and full on tell them that you lied. Or you could just be like, I don't really, if you don't feel like you can do that, you can just be like, I don't really remember. Could you help me do this? Either way, to study under somebody and be that intensely vulnerable, the complete opposite of what's going on here, you're going to learn more than you would by yourself in a shorter amount of time. So that 1 second where you're really vulnerable, you can learn like a vast amount of knowledge in like 2 months compared to like 2 years of trying to look through books and tell people like, oh yeah, I'm pretty proficient in that. But you're secretly trying to look at other people that are proficient and read the books they're reading and practice it, and you just don't get it and something's not connecting. And when you can just directly ask someone, what do? I don't understand why this isn't working. So remember, this is all about exercising that small fear that feels like a giant shift and change, when often the change is beneficial to you because it opens up a door you didn't know was inside you that needed to be opened. It's going to change your perspective. It's going to essentially make you skyrocket, not only in success, but happiness, and open your world mentally, because the more you're aware, kind of like an anthropologist or like an archaeologist, the more the world feels magical and wide and limitless, infinite. That's the word I want to say. So very cool. I'm super excited for you to gain all this knowledge. Definitely put that mindset to rest. Understand all the things you're going to gain and not what you lack. I hope you enjoyed this reading. If you did, please consider giving it a like, comment, subscribe. It helps out the channel like you would not believe. Either way, have a lovely day. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And let's get ready for group number 3. Group number 3, let's look at what your shadow self has to say to you by looking at the cards. We've got Flying Oracle card in reverse, the Knight of Cups upright, Nine of Wands in reverse, the Magician card upright, and the Page of Wands upright. Do you hear those beautiful little birds singing? I don't know if it's picking up on the mic. Oh, okay. This is so funny. This is incredibly easy to solve, and there's a lot of like great stuff I have to tell you. It's funny we're talking about your shadow self because well, I mean, you'll see what I'm saying in a second. I mean, it's still valid, but it's talking about a lot of good things around you, about you, but the solution might appear simple, but I know for you, it will feel hard. But you'll see what I'm saying in a second. So let's talk about all this great stuff happening around you, because it is. But unfortunately, you're kind of accidentally standing in the flow of it, so to speak. We'll just simply define as that, and then we'll get into more details in a second. So, Knight of Cups. This could totally be a romantic person of interest. This could be just like good things coming your way. Overall, it's this feeling of expressing your affection and love for yourself, for other people, and often learning how to like vibe that high frequency and then turn it into a creative thing you put out in the world. Either way, these good things are coming and reaching out to you your way. But then we also have the Magician card. This is like top of the line in my opinion. A lot of people think of the King of Pentacles as the king of manifesting, but I personally connect more to the Magician because the Magician is not only able to manifest, but they are somebody who's incredibly like in the know of what they need to manifest, how they connect to the universe. Sometimes just the way they vibe and are so in sync with the universe and who they are, and they have everything they need, no more, no less, that sometimes in itself is enough so they can manifest the things they want. But sometimes just being themselves and being this heightened level of connection and understanding and resourcefulness, it enables them to live a very fruitful but interesting life many people aren't fortunate enough to tune into or know they need to even tune into. So a lot of good things essentially coming your way. Essentially you have this great energy that says you're going to be able to accomplish anything you want. You're great just the way you are, and you're going to be so pumped and excited to encompass this energy for long-term success. And then a lot of great opportunities are coming your way, potentially romantic, but in general just like positive news overall popping up. But then we have the Nine of Wands in reverse. And these two essentially are just reflections of the other, is the best way I can put it. The Nine of Wands in reverse pops up when we are unfortunately standing in our own way out of excitement. I can tell from these three cards, you've got this great energy about you. This is what you want. You're striving for it. It's hard for you to turn this off because this is all you think about and you're aiming for. So to say it's like when somebody says, oh, the best way to manifest is to wish for something and then let it go. And you're like, how can I possibly let it go and stop thinking about it when in my off time, when I'm supposed to not be thinking about it, I don't want to do anything else but receive the thing. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of well-intentioned energy, but unfortunately, you want it too much. You're too excited for it. You might be even inserting your own, like, okay, it's taking too long to come my way. Maybe if I try this method, I will then attract it to me faster. Or maybe if I do this, I will be better organized and therefore attract more. You're essentially saying to the universe, I don't trust that you'll work in my favor, and especially, this is a key one, when you'll work in my favor, because I'm just so darn excited, which is really interesting, because it's more heavily focused on your positive excitement somehow being kind of a little bit of a negative thing in this particular case, rather than your overall lack of trust and fear in the world. You know what I mean? I guess the two are one and the same, but it's definitely like a hyper energy that gets the best of us at any time. Like, who doesn't understand that? But anyways, this card essentially says in order to then receive all these things, and remember we're talking about a 9 of Wands situation, you're not that far off from your goals and receiving all of this, is by doing less is more for you right now. It's about holding back and letting the universe doing its thing. It's about getting in the flow of it, but I'll be honest with you, you're more in the flow of it than you know, but you're almost like a supercharged battery. So sometimes you can't even handle your own vivacious connection to the universe. So like I said, your shadow self is essentially giving you a huge compliment, but it's like, tune it down a little. Handle it. But then also we have over here the flying card in reverse, which does act as a bit of a warning, I do want to point out. Essentially, it talks about the idea that sometimes you want to like go for that energy and really, fly off into the sky and strive for it. And sometimes it's better to be grounded. But it's an understanding that the reason why you need to be grounded is if you go too soon, you could get hurt, or we'll just be less dramatic and say that you won't get it. You might be, maybe when you were about to get it, instead you get a little bit, humiliated, or you just go too soon and you miss your mark or something like that. We don't want to be too drastic here, because this card often refers to the story of Icarus with the wax wings, when, they flew off into the sun, really very excited, but they had wax wings and unfortunately they melted and, it didn't work out for them. So this is very much the same concept of being like, just be grounded now. In the long term, you're going to fly, but by rushing it and trying to move before you're truly ready, and in this case your readiness is learning the lesson of being able to both have the wish and dream, but also sit back and let the universe do its thing, let time do what it needs to do, the ability to learn patience. That's probably what your shadow self is saying, is talking about your impatience. In the long term, you will ultimately be successful and have an even greater happiness in flight. Like imagine you have wax wings, right? And instead of flying off to the sun now, I know it's so exciting, the idea of flying. What if you waited and you built yourself a really cool set of glorious, luminescent, multicolored butterfly wings, right? Huge ones. And so not only did you get to fly, but you have better control when you're flying. You look stunning. Maybe the other butterflies confuse you for one of them and you get to fly with a bunch of butterflies. It's that mentality that it's like, wait now for the greater good kind of thing going on. So essentially we have a bit more guidance going on here that you'll really appreciate, that will help you buy your time in the meantime. This essentially is saying you need to get grounded and kind of step back a little bit and just kind of have trust and patience that the universe is going to take care of you and just let it do its thing. So it's about backing up a little bit in order to allow this into your life. But while you're waiting, and like we talked about before, what do you do if all you want to do is get these things? Is with the Page of Wands. This is a really lovely beginning of a new project, kind of sensation, excitement, new passion. It's a new path sort of mentality. But what I want you to more focus on is the encouragement aspect. Every time you get excited and you're like, I can't wait for this to happen, and you need to kind of let it go, relax. Pay special note anytime someone like compliments you or you see something that's particularly inspiring. Like take a moment to acknowledge it, say, that's so cool. And then practice, not thinking about it. Like enjoy them as it comes. Enjoy the idea of it happening. Like these little morsels of support or people letting you know they think you're doing a great job, whatever it is, and then just kind of go about your life. But these are the little small crumbs, we could say, before you get the whole loaf of bread. So if you're starting a business and you haven't quite seen the results of it yet, just know that it's happening. I'm really excited. You're definitely going to be offered some sort of like big project. Somebody's going to love and adore your thing so much that that's how you get the opportunity, and you're going to be able to handle it, no problem. But in the meantime, appreciate all the comments on your social media of this business you're working on, that people like the thing that you're doing. And that in turn itself is enough and is just kind of making you, it's kind of like, the best way I can put it is like, imagine you've ordered like this cool thing, right? I don't know, whatever your dream is. We'll just say roller skates right now. And you wear a pair of roller skates. And while you're waiting for it to come in the mail, you have fun watching the occasional video for it. Or maybe you like to watch tutorials. Not all the time, but just occasionally, maybe at night. And you just sit there and you're like, oh, I'm so excited. This is going to be me in a moment. That's great. And let that be a happy experience rather than a painful one or something you should shut out completely. So yeah, overall, like a very intense high compliment and excitement that you have all this good stuff coming your way, but you just need to back up a little bit in order for it to follow through and actually complete its journey to you. So if you enjoyed this reading, consider giving it a like, comment, subscribe. It helps out the channel like you would not believe. Have a lovely day, and I'm wishing you the best. And let's get ready for group number 4. Group number 4. Let's find out what your shadow self has to say to you by looking at the cards. We've got Dragon's Lair Oracle card upright, Ace of Swords in reverse, the Fool card in reverse, the Lover's card upright. This is my favorite version of this type of card. And the Tower card upright. I'm going to be honest with you, as I always am. I am not quite sure if, okay, so this is talking about a relationship. I'm being more pulled to this being a romantic relationship, but because this is a general reading and I want to include everybody, this can totally refer to like a friendship or something, but it's a significant one. Either way, or like a roommate or something, you know, your roommate friend or whatever. Whatever it is, I can't tell if your shadow self is saying, don't go towards this person, or if to. I kind of almost feel like, if I'm being honest with you, they are saying yes, go for it, but they are letting you know about things not maybe being the smoothest, but it being a good thing that it's not the smoothest. You kind of like need to go through this, so to speak. So let's talk about what's going on over here. First off, my first indicator is that the Lover's card is upright, and the vibe I'm getting from it, it feels positive. This person seems like a great person to have in your life. So right off the bat, like, yay, I'm glad, that's awesome for you. But then we have all of this going on. Now, the Tower card, I have to remind people every, reading, the Tower card is not inherently negative. Everybody always thinks it is. It's not. It just says that there will be a dramatic shift in your life, a dramatic change that will change your daily life. But remember, when you have your daily life change, this can be a good thing. It's like getting a new roommate, or if you start, let's say you move in with someone or you're dating someone and you're seeing them enough where your daily errands are not the same and you have to start making decisions considering somebody else. Like, it's not easy for you to go to the store without saying, well, I should consider what would they like to have me purchase or whatever. Yes, it's not the way you were living, 2 months ago kind of thing. But that doesn't mean it's bad. It's a lot of good that comes with that change. But either way, this person is of significance in your life. But this is when it gets a little interesting and confusing. So we have the Lover's card in reverse, and it implies that you are jumping into this, we'll just call it general relationship, again, friendship, anything, roommate, whatever. And you are to a certain subconscious level, knowingly taking a risk you shouldn't make, that this is not something you should do, and you know better, and you're basically, it's detrimental to you, and you shouldn't do it, essentially. Even here, the Ace of Swords in reverse talks about the idea of bad judgment, right? But then we have the Dragon's Lair, and this is when kind of like everything gets shifted and changed, so to speak. Sorry, Spirit's like really taking over. I can feel it. Dragon's Lair is when you are going into something and it's letting you know it's going to be challenging and it's going to make you have to face some things you didn't want to face before and accept things about yourself that you didn't want to. Again, all about the shadow self. But it's a comforting side, saying that you actually have a really great internal system, like a red flag system, and you will know when you shouldn't fully do something, when it truly is a risk and it's not worth doing. So it's like a comfort to you, saying like you're not giving yourself enough credit. You can trust yourself truly. This is interesting because often when people dive down to their shadow self, while everybody's working with their own thing, a common thing that gets repeated is either people's trust with the universe, other people, or themselves, and trusting it's all going to be okay. So for you, it seems like a trusting within yourself. Wow, my spirit guides are like really honing in. Thank you, spirit guides. So the point is, I don't even feel like I'm here, to be honest with you. So the point is, sorry, whenever I stop and narrate, just so you guys are like informed, it totally throws me off with my connection. So anyways, going on, this is basically saying you need to trust yourself. But it's letting you know that you should go towards this challenge because you were meant to go through this in order to become that next level, that best version of you. And so it's inherently a good thing. It's kind of this weird thing where you're basically being told, yes, there's danger. You can trust yourself when you ultimately shouldn't make that decision. But also, there are going to be times when you feel like, I don't know, I don't trust this. I don't know if I should. And you should go towards that in order to build that trust within yourself, in order to grow and experience and force to step up to the plate is the best way I can put it. So then this takes on a whole different meaning. Not all the time. This is a little lesson to learn for anybody who loves to read tarot and likes to do this kind of thing. If a tarot is in reverse, that does not necessarily mean that it's actually meant to be read in reverse. Sometimes it's about its association with each other, and so it's in reverse to let you understand how it needs to be associated with itself. So then when it's in reverse, it's different. And it's important to acknowledge that sometimes in tarot, in this particular case, the reversal meanings I was talking about are just as valid as the upfront, and I'll be a little more detailed about that in a second. So when it's upright, this is saying if you have the belief system that everything is going to be okay, then it is going to be okay because you've said it's going to be okay. This is somebody who's free-spirited, but they're not dumb. They are hopeful. And by putting that hope out there, they understand that hope and belief is just as concrete as proof. That's all they need. The proof is within their belief, and they're giving it that in seriousness and being like, okay, well, if I believe it, then it's so. Then we have the Ace of Swords upright. It's implying that you are thinking clearly. You are smart. You're going to make the right decisions. You're starting a new kind of mindset, and you can trust that you are going to be able, that you're thinking clearly enough moving forward in this new mindset to make the best possible decisions. You see what I'm saying? So we have somebody new coming into your life. They're going to shake things up like nobody's business. It's a good thing. You have to understand when you are putting yourself in jeopardy and that you've kind of done that in the past, and yes, you should be more aware and give more respect and love to yourself when you notice that, and you shouldn't, when you know truly in your gut, and we know that you do, we have double confirmation that it's not the right thing to do, follow that. But also, don't give into that fear so much you lose the importance of belief and focusing more and fostering hope and love and the possibility that everything's going to be okay and work out in your favor. It's also about the idea of being aware when paying attention when it is bad judgment. Be logical. Again, this talks about a little bit of intuition, a little bit of logic, but understand that because you are so smart and you're thinking clearly moving forward into this, because you know when something's a gamble, when you know when to pay attention to those red flags, go for it. Take on the challenge. You need to. It's going to be a little rough sometimes, but you're going to be better off for it. The main thing is about building trust in yourself, other people, and the possibility of the outcome with the universe. You've got this. It's working out in your favor. You can, at the minimum, trust yourself to guide everything else and make everything else work in your favor. You are the beacon. You are the map creator. Make the map. Make it work out in your favor, because it can. I hope you enjoyed this reading, and I look forward to this positive change in your life with this other person. If you enjoyed this reading, please consider giving the video a like, comment, subscribe. It helps out the channel like you would not believe. Either way, have a lovely day. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye!